Hey, kids, we're a couple of annoyed grunt boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast. That's right, we're the show that explores the animated series The Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest episodes when they're available, like this week. Why do we do it like this? An entity known as the Wheel of Random has trapped us and forced us to watch the show in such a manner. Plus, there's plenty of other shows that explore the quote-unquote golden age of The Simpsons, that being seasons 1 through 10. I say we because I'm one annoyed grunt boy named Steve, and with me, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy,
Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Steve.
It's an interesting week here in Simpsons land.
Yeah, once this episode airs, it's like a week after the news drops, so everyone's forgotten.
That's right. We're still talking about the Simpsons Bad contest. Good job, Maud Flanders.
Shit, yeah, you're right. Oh, man. And happy American Thanksgiving to all the Americans listening to this and eating your food with your family. And I'm sure it's all fun and not political.
Yeah, not a political dinner. But there is some kind of bittersweet news. We recently learned that Pamela Hayden is retiring after 36 years with The Simpsons. She, of course, is best known for playing Milhouse, but also Jimbo and Todd Flanders. She first appeared in a Butterfinger ad way back in 1989.
Hey, Bart, want to trade lunches?
No way, dude. I got each of the 4 food groups. Sandwich group, cow group, jungle group, Butterfinger group.
Hey, there's no Butterfinger group.
Oh, contraire, mon frere. The Butterfinger group provides the crunchy peanut butter and chocolatey taste essential for survival.
I don't have the Butterfinger group.
Looks like you could die of malnutrition, dude.
Peanut buttery Butterfinger.
It's neato.
And it's neato.
That was the first appearance of Pamela Hayden?
That was, yes, and also the first appearance of Milhouse.
Wow.
Basically, in the commercial, Bart needed somebody to talk to because in the Tracy Ullman shorts, it was mostly stuck to the household, so it was just the family. But they wanted Bart to want to trade his Butterfinger with another school chum, and so they invented Milhouse. And Matt Groening gave him Milhouse because it's the worst possible name that he could think of. And from there, we got the wiener that is Milhouse.
Well, yeah, and it's famously great President Richard Nixon's middle name, Richard Milhouse Nixon.
That's right.
We don't have a reason why Pamela, she's older. Maybe she just wants to retire and be done with show business.
Yeah, I think that she just wants to move on. It's been a long time. And sadly, I think that this is probably going to be the beginning of a trend that we'll see in the next, 10, 15 years as The Simpsons continue to go on. Because people are going to want to retire because, Pamela's 70, Eardley's 60, Julie, 74, Harry Shearer's 80, Maggie Roswell, 72. So these people are getting older, and so they might want to, hang it up. And I respect Pamela for doing it. She's done some great work. She's also was in Being John Malkovich. She was in a number of things like The Hill Street Blues. Did you know that she was a contestant on both The Price is Right and The Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah, everyone knew that, Steve. You don't have to tell us.
Okay. Well, she was also Droopy, Master Detective, and in All Real Monsters.
Do we know if they are killing Milhouse off, or is he moving, or will another voice actor take over the prestigious role?
To the best of my knowledge, somebody else is going to be taking over the role, though it has not been determined who. So maybe there is some blue-haired wiener out there who can take over for him.
Yeah, it better be a 10-year-old blue-haired boy,
I do want to say that I appreciate Milhouse as a character because so often in media, especially in the 80s and 90s, when you had a nerdy character, they were smart, they were successful, they were academically gifted. And what I appreciated and related to Milhouse is that, one, he was unpopular, but two, he was also unlikable, and he wasn't very smart. And that's somebody I can get behind.
I think it was like the juxtaposition between Kevin Arnold's friend, Paul Pfeiffer, on The Wonder Years, who looks just like Milhouse. So I always wondered, was that like the basis of Milhouse? Paul Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely.
The Simpsons has been on for 36 years. Let people retire. She's obviously a fan favorite. People love Milhouse. Everything's coming up Milhouse. It's just part of the lexicon. She's a true hero to the animated world and to Simpsons fans. So she will be missed. at least she went out on her own terms. It's it's sad when someone like Marshall Wallace, or even back when Phil Hartman was murdered. It's sad when someone's taken away from us too soon. And nope, she left on her own. Hopefully she has a nice retirement and lives a long, long, happy life.
I hope so. And I just want to say, Pamela, thank you for all your wonderful work. It's great to see like you getting the recognition you deserve, and we just appreciate you as Simpsons fans and just fans of media in general. So well done, Pamela.
And I guess with that, we'll say everything's coming up, Pamela.
That's right. And let's celebrate that by moving into this week's episode. Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes, in which a tattooed man at a mysterious night circus transports Lisa into 3 strange stories from the innocent 50s, the chilling retro present, and the brutalist future, where prestige TV rules the world. Oh boy, that sounds exciting. Let's give it a watch. We'll be right back. And we're back. Today we're talking about Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes. It's the 7th episode of the 36th season. It is episode 775 in the show's run. It originally aired on November 24th, 2024. Your nerd code is 35ABF14. It was written by Jessica Conrad, directed by Debbie Bruce Mahan, and your showrunners are Matt Selman, Brian Kelley, and Al Jean.
All right, look, Steve, we all know that Jessica Conrad was a writer, producer, and actor who has written for SNL, Stand Against Evil, and Angie Tribeca. Since joining The Simpsons in 2020, she has served as executive story editor, producer, and writer. Aside from writing several episodes of The Simpsons, she also penned the shorts The Good, the Bad, the Lucky, and The Simpsons in Plusiversary. This is the 7th episode she's written and the 6th we've reviewed. We reviewed them all. Steve, her first episode was One Angry Lisa from season 34, The King of Nice, My Life as a Vlog, all those from season 34, and then Treehouse of Horror 34, and Bart's Birthday from this season. So the first episode, the season premiere.
That's right. We just have a Springfield Summer Christmas for Christmas yet to review.
Oh, yeah, that one too, Steve. Maybe that'll be our Christmas episode. I think we said this when we reviewed the season premiere of Bart's Birthday. Like, maybe that'll be our Christmas episode. And then decided it's probably a Hanukkah episode.
Maybe it'll be a Kwanzaa episode.
Well, Jessica Conrad has a lot of hopes and dreams of Simpsons podcasters' hearts to fill, because Bart's Birthday was classic season opener.
It was, and let's see if this one continues with that excellence.
By the time this episode airs, like we probably mentioned, like let's just get Halloween over with, Steve. It's like we're already in Christmas, all right?
We're like in Thanksgiving territory, moving into Christmas. Like Christmas at the date of this record is like less than a month away.
Yeah, this episode is coming out on Thanksgiving in America, so this is what everyone's listening to while they're eating their turkey, then eating their ass.
That's right. You're going to fight with your uncle and toss a salad.
Yeah, your stupid liberal uncle that's from San Francisco with his stupid political views.
Talking about how bad the wonderful tariffs are.
All right, Steve, on our political podcast, let's just get into this spooky episode.
Right. We begin with the title screen, where it has a bloody text that oozes down saying the title, Treehouse of Horror presents, and then in red cursive, it says Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes.
I think I realized why they put this episode out with that title this weekend, because Wicked came out as like the #1 movie, right? So
yeah.
They're just like, oh, if we put the word Wicked, people will think, oh, this is what everyone's talking about, right?
Yep, and Bostonians were disappointed twice.
Because the word comes.
Yeah. Ain't no coming here.
Was that your Mark Wahlberg impersonation?
Yes.
What's your Casey Affleck?
My brother's better than me.
What's your Ben Affleck?
I'm better than my brother, but not as good as Matt.
Matt
Rife.
Oh,
Hilarious comedian.
Matt Lauer. All right, Steve. Our episode begins, as it always does, with the Simpsons entering the R. Bradbury's traveling night circus. In the background, we see that Miss Hoover, Otto, and Wendell are all there, as well as squeaky teen voice who appears to be flirting with Shauna. But, Steve, this also now makes it more complicated to decide if Otto is, like, still the same age as Kearney, right?
Yeah, it's all very confusing.
Or is Otto a pedophile?
I mean, two things can be true.
I suppose you're right, Steve. But of course, that's just what maybe we see, right?
Yeah,
Maybe it's your subconscious, Steve. Maybe you want to be one flirting with Shauna.
maybe.
Ooh, boy. All right, Steve. You'd probably be a great attorney general with that kind of mentality. Okay. Steve, Lisa finds it odd that a weird circus just appeared out of nowhere, and Homer is certain that his daughter loves circuses, but as she so firmly states, she hates them. She hates them so much that she's literally gotten 3 of them shut down just in the past year. Homer reassures Lisa, telling her that this one only exploits people. People such as
The bearded lady.
the amazing Wiffle Girl,
Bilinguo, the man of 2 languages.
Blubby, the eternal baby.
And Brainzo, the human measuring tape.
All right, Steve, which one are you going to first?
Oh boy. I want to see the amazing Wiffle Girl. I wonder if she whistles when you, batter her around.
I like how it starts off with the bearded lady, like that traditional circus.
Which doesn't seem that amazing at this point.
No. I guess I'll go to the Brainzo, the human measuring tape, just so I know I can get an accurate measurement this time, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Some rulers, I think, are just not measured correctly, Steve.
Yeah, they're liars.
Yeah.
So Homer and Bart are excited to see both the dog-faced man and the man-faced dog, because Homer is eager to answer the age-old question, who feeds who? Although it's whom. Know your grammar, homie. Lisa tries to find sanity in her mother, but Marge can't wait to see the pint-sized Hercules, the world's strongest boy, and his tiny little abs.
So as the rest of the family succumbs to the allure of the big top, Lisa wanders off and overhears the ringmaster firing the heavily tattooed illustrated man, who just doesn't have the appeal he once did. Sure, he may just be a heavily inked up guy in boxers, but as Lisa will soon learn, those tattoos are special.
You've got fewer tattoos than the average chef.
Yes, but mine are.
Mystical portals to an alternate reality. Look, if kids want mystical portals, they'll look at their phones. Hand over your freak badge and your tattoo gun.
Excuse me, how much to see the illustrated man?
Forget it, kid. I'm retired.
Okay, best of luck to you.
Oh, you don't give up, do you? All right, have a seat. If you stare at one of my tattoos long enough, it tells a story. Strange and unusual.
How long does it take?
It's a miracle! Give it 2 seconds. Strange and unusual.
Steve, that actor has such a precious voice. Who is that?
Are you saying it's the woman from Precious, the novel inspired by Push?
Are you saying that Andy Serkis was in a motion capture shoot and Gabrielle Sidibe isn't real?
He is a very talented actor, so I wouldn't be surprised. But no, that is in fact Andy Serkis in that circus playing the heavily tattooed man.
His name is Andy Serkis, and he's at a circus?
Wow.
I like the ringmaster being like, you got fewer tattoos than an average chef. Very funny joke.
Mm-hmm.
But our punch-up is an average Portland resident.
That's true, yeah. I feel like a freak because I don't have tattoos in Portland.
And I think you and I are the only ones that don't have tattoos.
Yeah, even my wife, who is, I love her, but she's more of a square than I am. She even has 3 tattoos and I have 0.
What?
Yeah.
I don't see. I've seen them all.
Oh, weird.
Where are they, Steve?
They're in the house.
No, the tattoos.
Oh, they're on my wife.
Do you even know?
One on her, the inside of her wrist, one on her arm, and one on her foot.
Yeah, I just never had a desire. We've talked about this before, but we've never had desires to do tattoos. Remember, we had our whole bit when we first started the show. It's like, what Simpsons tattoo would you get? Still, never get a Simpsons tattoo.
Yeah, I just can't commit to any one tattoo, and that's the problem. It's like, I just don't know.
I think you should get a tattoo of your first girlfriend's name.
Mom?
I was going to say Winnie Cooper, Steve. That was your first girlfriend. You went around in 4th grade telling everyone that Winnie Cooper was your girlfriend. You saw her in the summers. She's off filming Wonder Years.
I remember it like it was yesterday. To everything, turn.
Well, I told everyone that I was dating the French student that Kevin had a crush on. That was like 26 years old.
She went over to your house and made chocolate mousse with you and
Was it Moose? I forget. I've been rewatching Wonder Years. I haven't got to that part yet, Steve.
It's going to be exciting when you do.
Yeah, that was my first girlfriend.
I just hung out with Marilyn Manson.
Anyway, Steve, Lisa stares at one tattoo in particular as a young boy in a coonskin cap with a rifle in the woods. And as the camera zooms in on that tattoo, we see that the boy is Bart. I mean, clearly that was Bart. It looked like Bart. What's Andy Serkis doing with Bart on his tattoo? On his arm, body. So he shoots tin cans that are placed on a stump. He takes aim at empties of driver's choice beer, canned cigarettes, and sweetened condensed margarine. All right, Steve, which can are you going to take?
Well, I mean, the canned cigarettes ensure freshness, so that's something. But I think I'm going to go with driver's choice beer. Sure, I don't drink anymore, but that just might be the thing I need.
I mean, the sweetened condensed margarine probably makes your cooking taste pretty good.
I would assume so, yeah.
Well, before the first shot is fired, Bart is distracted by a high-pitched feminine scream coming from a distance.
Oh, so Bart follows the sound to a freshly shoveled plot of land. He calls out to see if anyone's under the dirt, and the womanly voice screams in response. After digging with his hands proved to be futile, Bart runs for help. He rushes home to alert his parents that there's a screaming woman in the woods who was buried alive. As Marge, dressed as a traditional 50s housewife, pours Homer another martini, she shusses Bart, reminding him that his father only has a 2-hour lunch break to enjoy a full steak dinner.
You mean full steak lunch?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it looks like a dinner, but yeah, it's lunch.
So Bart pleads for his parents' help in saving the screaming lady, but that only reminds Marge of some gossip she heard about regarding Luann Van Houten's row with Miss Hoover after she revealed to the world that Luann dyes her hair.
Oh, scandalous.
Homer feels that Luann has struggled enough considering she's married to a dead-end dipstick like Kirk.
Very true. Homer goes on to say that he was Kirk's co-worker at the Double Beef Burger. He tries to recall the fast food jingle that used to play all the time where they worked, but Bart is growing impatient. Marge is unsure of Bart's story, thinking it may be like one of his famous ribs, much like the story of the boy in the woods crying wolf, which Homer eventually examined, and he found that there was no boy, actually. There was just a wolf that happened to be really fat. Weird.
Now, while looking elsewhere for help, Bart runs to the window in his room and uses a tin can on a string telephone to reach out to Milhouse. So across the string, Milhouse is playing ball in cup or can, but he feels a tug on his can. Not his butt, Steve. After telling him that he was just playing games on his phone, the ball and cup. It's very funny. Milhouse says that he can't help save the woman since he's at his grandma's house for the next 3 days and is having his calls forwarded. So when he returns, he'll be glad to play the Screaming Women game, but which to Bart is no game at all. And that's a wrap for Pamela Hayden. That's the last time she'll voice Milhouse.
That's true. I do appreciate, though, that they got all the jokes that they could out of the can on the string telephone, because aside from him, like, playing the games, he's, like, telling Bart that he was playing games with his phone. Bart touches on the screen when they're done with the call, and Milhouse complains that he lost his high score. I feel like there's no other jokes that they could have made with the can on a string joke as a phone. Like, I think they did it. So good job on them. And yeah, good job on Pamela Hayden for a wonderful career with The Simpsons.
And that's a series wrap.
And cut. Clap, clap, clap. Bart runs out of the house, ready to scour the streets. His plan of action is simple. Just check every house in the neighborhood until he discovers the one with the missing lady. So he tries the first house, where he finds Helen Lovejoy, visibly pregnant, holding a cigarette in one hand and a martini in the other. Tries the next door, he meets Bernice Hibbert, also with child, also smoking and drinking. And then a third house with Miss Housewife, aka Miss Springfield, also knocked up and also full of vices like smoking and drinking. Finally, he arrives at the Van Houten residence, where Luann takes his concerns seriously.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Van Houten. Never mind. Glad you're not in a hole.
Is something the matter, Bart?
There's a screaming woman buried in the woods, but everyone thinks I'm lying.
A screaming woman? That does sound serious.
You believe me?
Of course. Why not come inside and tell me more over a nice glass of milk?
Thanks, but we should hurry. I don't think she has much time left.
Time enough for one more glass of milk, I bet.
I shouldn't. Milk makes me sleepy.
Milhouse should be home soon. He's with his hula hoop tutor.
I thought he was at his grandmother's?
Oh, whatever gave you that idea?
Suspect.
You got a hula hoop tutor, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, You can't do it on your own. You gotta train.
Did you take performance-enhancing drugs for your hula hoop?
Yeah, I expanded my hips, and then I met this wonderful Hawaiian woman, and I ended up marrying her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But she wasn't your trainer.
No.
I think Luann buried Kirk. What do you think, Steve?
I think maybe. But it was a womanly scream, so maybe it was Ned Flanders.
That's what I thought, too.
Interesting.
Well, Luann pours Bart a third glass of sleeping-inducing dairy, this time a glass of heavy cream. So she tips the glass in his mouth, happily saying, bottoms up. So feeling woozy, Bart allows Luann to lead him to Millhouse's room, where he can take a nap. Bart tries to protest, saying that he needs to save the woman, but he's interrupted by his own yawns. So he flops on the bed, as Luann wishes him a nighty-night before locking the door.
So, knowing that he needs to stay awake, Bart forces himself up and gives himself a slap to the face. But still needing a pick-me-up, he rips open a pixie stick with his teeth and stabs a sugar-filled paper straw into his thigh. And so then Bart comes to life with a gasp of air, much like Mia Wallace did after being shot in the needle in the chest by Eric Stoltz.
Well, are you referencing a movie, or is this real life?
Pretty sure this is real life, because I said Eric Stoltz, and that's a real person. And I assume Mia Wallace is...
You could have said Uma Thurman.
Yeah, but I know that her name is Mia Wallace.
All right.
And I don't think her husband looks like a bitch, but I could be wrong.
God, it's been like 30 years since I've watched Pulp Fiction. Is that weird?
No, it's not. I think I tried
maybe 20. Not 30.
Yeah, I think I tried 10 years ago, and it was fine.
Yeah, I've rewatched his movies after Pulp Fiction many times, like Jackie Brown and Bill Needs to Die, and those angry 8 cowboys and disingenuous fatherless children, and his latest one, Dear Fictional Hollywood.
Yes.
I like that one. That's good.
It's probably recency bias, but that's kind of up there with me. That one and Jackie Brown.
Well, old and new.
Yep. That's right.
Take that, Reservoir Dogs.
That one I did recently watch, and it's still amazing how many times the N-word could be said when there's no black people in the movie.
Steve, were you just sitting at home talking to yourself?
Yeah. But
Jesus. All right, well, with a newfound pep in his step, Bart jumps out of the window and rushes to the buried person. Do you feel like they've used the pixie stick joke a lot? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. And
how's the sugar getting into his veins?
I don't know. And the straw would break. And also, are pixie sticks I don't know, kids. Do they like pixie sticks? I don't know.
Are they still making pixie sticks?
I mean, I feel like the outrage over sugar would have stopped that at this point, but I could be wrong.
You probably don't like pixie sticks because it was in a paper straw, so you had to open it and taste paper, right?
It's true. I would cut it open with scissors and pour it in my mouth in such a way that the paper would never touch my tongue, because that is gross.
Steve has this aversion to eating paper. Most people don't eat paper.
Yes, but it's a gag reflex. It's very yeah.
I watched the TV show Abbott Elementary, and I know you don't, but I almost said to watch an episode. You need to watch this episode right away. Trust me. Stop what you're doing and watch this episode, thinking something is important in it. But it's literally she has to deal with a kid who eats paper.
Ugh.
I just wanted to make you watch it.
That's awful.
Teachers, you don't pay them enough, but you can pay an actor playing a teacher a lot of money.
That's true.
So teachers, just be actors.
Yeah, just go on Saturday Night Live for a week or two and you'll be fine.
Yeah. You mean write for Saturday Night Live for a week?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go drive to Hollywood, knock on Warner Brothers and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Warner, I'd like a job now." And they'll give it to you.
Yeah. If Wacko isn't there, just ask Yakko or Dot, and I'm sure they'll help.
If Warner Brothers isn't hiring, you go over to Paramount. You'd be like, "Look, I can climb a mountain." That's how you get a job at Paramount.
Yep. You just have to hang out with SpongeBob and Yellowstone.
and Captain Pike and all those Star Trek crew. And if Paramount's not hiring, you go to Disney and say, "Mr. Mickey, give me a job." And we'll say, "Oh, fuck you. Fuck off. I'm getting blown here by Mia Wallace." And Eric Stoltz.
You think Mickey gives a good foot massage? I think he would.
I think Mickey and Minnie have a sham relationship.
Do you think Minnie's a beard and
oh yeah,
Mickey and Donald
Oh, you think it's Donald? I know who it is, Steve, but I can't tell you unless you subscribe to our Patreon.
Oh boy.
Mickey's buying all these other properties like Marvel and Star Wars. I heard that Mickey and Grogu are kind of hooking up.
Oh, he likes him young.
Yeah. Well, he's 50 years old, Grogu is, but he was dating Howard the Duck for a bit, after they bought Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
But Mickey was more of an alcoholic than Howard, and Howard had to break it off.
Plus, Howard had that porn addiction. Always masturbating those pictures of the ducks with the huge knockers.
And Leah Thompson.
And Leah Thompson, yes.
Anyway, Steve, with a newfound pep in his step, Bart jumps out of the window and rushes to the buried person. He asks for a sign of life, shouting that she can't be dead. She just can't. And Bart tearfully apologizes, frustrated by the fact that the one time that he is not lying to make other people look stupid for believing him, no one believes him. Just then, the voice replies with a familiar tune.
Wait, are you singing? The beefiest beef eats other beef. Double beef burgers, beef fed beef.
You just sang our old burger jingle. How could you possibly know it?
Because a screaming woman just sang it to me.
That's no screaming woman. It's a screaming Kirk.
I was wondering when you were going to finish that thought.
Oh, thank you, Bart. Oh, you saved me.
Is this the woman who buried you?
He let Miss Hoover see him buying my hair dye. The shame. What choice did I have?
She's got a point. Here in the 1950s, murder is much more socially acceptable than, divorce. You're free to go.
So, are you mad at me? It kind of seemed like you're mad at me.
In the beginning of that clip, when Bart says, I never thought you were going to finish that thought, that's like a joke that they've done before, but I like it. Because it's like, he says a thing and then they go to the location and then he finishes his thought. It's always a funny joke to me.
Yeah, what was it? When they win a prize or whatever, and then they get home, like, let's open that prize. Like,
oh, yeah, that is weird.
TV logic.
Yeah. Also, Kirk being like, are you mad at me? It seems like you're mad at me. Like, that's such, like, the Kirk cuck way to be.
The joke of, it's probably better to murder your spouse than to divorce in the 1950s.
It's true.
Also, the joke of, like, well, here in the 1950s, when a TV shows, make sure they states the year that they're in.
What a strange present it is. So Marge promises Bart that they'll never doubt him again. And Bart innocently says, really? Before calling out Lisa as a communist. So at Homer's request, Chief Wiggum throws Lisa in the back of his squad car and sends her to prison. Marge, Homer, and Bart watch as she rides into the sunset before all toasting their martinis for ratting out to the Reds.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that scene too earlier where Bart's going to door and everyone's praying and smoking and drinking. Well, Steve, that sums up the first story, right? So back at the circus, Lisa discovers that the illustrated man's tattoos truly are magic. Eager to learn more, Lisa points to another tattoo, this one of a smiling face inside a sun-shining sun. So the illustrated man, it was just his sublime face, as it resembles the cover to the band's album, 40 Ounces to Freedom. Steve, did you have that album?
I did. I have I want to say vivid memories, but they're not that vivid, of sitting in the back of somebody's car in high school on lunch break, getting really high.
It sounds like you're applying me, but it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't actually. It was
someone else, yeah.
Two girls that I went to high school with who were known as the Doobie Sisters because they liked marijuana so much.
And the Doobie Brothers.
Yes, I also smoked weed with Michael McDonald.
I keep forgetting you used to smoke with him.
You're so gullible, Craig. That's what a fool believes.
But the Sublime, when you were smoking, were you practicing Santeria?
I perfected it.
So on his arm is a piece that shows the gears and cogs turning, which are inside of a wristwatch.
Well, the wearer of that wristwatch...
Try it again.
Sure. The wearer of that wristwatch is a bored Gary Chalmers, who checks his timepiece as Principal Skinner gets to the 22nd item on his agenda, preparations for Flag Day. The superintendent, whose pants are weirdly pulled up to his nipples, reminds Skinner, who also has hiked up pants, that Flag Day is 7 months away, which to Seymour is not enough time to prepare. Skinner asks for Gary's opinion on his bunting samples, making Chalmers wish someone would kill him. Seymour shows off a pricey choice of bunting that would cause the drape to make it the comeliest thing on a pole that you've ever seen. And this causes Gary to call Seymour a tragic figure, comparing him to Hamlet if Hamlet were boring, a principal, and an idiot. So after storming out of the office, Gary Chalmers walks down the futuristic street, passing such space-age businesses as
atomic toasters. Nothing toasts like the power of the atom.
Ray's Ray Guns,
A billboard for the moon. America's Playground. Book your paper ticket today.
Just Jell-O molds,
And Mars Lad Donuts. All right, Steve, where are you going first?
I think I want a ray gun.
I agree. Like, I don't want to travel to the moon. I have no desire to travel to outer space, Steve. It seems too scary for me.
Yeah, we got the ocean right here. That's far more interesting to me.
And, like, I don't care about donuts or Jell-O molds, but I'm going to have to go to the ray gun store with you.
That's right.
The only ray gun store I ever go to is Ronald Reagan store.
Get some jelly beans and a blowjob from his wife.
As long as she's sitting on Mr. T's lap and we can listen to rap albums. Or was that Tipper Gore who was the parental advisory stickers?
Yeah, because Rich Little had the rapping Reagan.
Tipper Gore?
It was Tipper Gore, yeah.
Thank God Al Gore's not in politics anymore. Him and his wife.
What a horrible first lady that would be.
And their daughter's like a comedy writer.
Ugh.
Gross. Ugh.
Friends with Tommy Lee Jones.
I'd rather have a president that's friends with Tommy Lee.
Oh, just wait a couple months and you'll be there.
So avoiding the jetpack-wearing postal worker, the suicide machine, and the fancy cars of tomorrow, Gary goes into Moe's Tavern. After ordering another glass of Gallo, Chalmers requests the barkeep to leave the box of low, mid-range white wine with them. So sitting across the bar, it's Carl, who is surprised to see Gary drowning his sorrows.
Hey, pal. You don't look like the kind of guy who drinks alone just for the fun of it. What's eating at you?
Have you ever been forced to spend all of your time with someone whose very existence just sucks the will to live right out of you?
What if I told you today's modern science has a solution to that very problem? Come with me.
How is this possible? He looks just like you.
Not he, it. It's an exact robot replica of me. A very hush-hush new technology.
So are we saying like we're in the 60s now, but like a futuristic version of the 60s?
Well, obviously these are all based on Ray Bradbury stories, but the first one was like...
Maybe that's my problem.
It was in the present. The first one was in the present, as the present being the 50s. And this one is in the future as viewed from like the 50s or the 60s. Because like it feels like the 50s version of the future.
Because like the high-waisted pants, I always think of Fred from I Love Lucy.
Right. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to evoke is that era of like time. So it's weird because they're going back to the future and forward to the past.
And was box wine invented in the 50s or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It does sound like a weird sci-fi thing. Like wine doesn't come in a bottle. It comes in a box.
And it does, Steve. And I love a boxed wine.
No shame in a boxed wine.
No, there really isn't. Now it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
As long as it's not Franzia, right?
Right, Franzia. That's awful.
Fonzie.
Like, hey. So, while they watch Robo Carl high-five Lenny after finishing a jigsaw puzzle, Carl hands Chalmers a business card for Marionettes for Incorporated. So Gary asks how the robot doppelgangers work, and Carl excitedly tells him that they're full of gears, hundreds of them. Carl explains that he doesn't share Lenny's passion for puzzles, so he sends the robot in his place. He then urges Gary to call the number on the card and start living his best life.
That is also funny too. The gadgets, the gears, as like always being robots. Like that's the thing. All these winding gears. So in his apartment, Gary uses a crowbar to open a large wooden crate from Marionettes Incorporated. Inside, he finds a replica of himself, which he says is quite the me before asking how the robot is powered up. So the Chalmers robot instantly comes to life, saying that he does enjoy a good cup of coffee in the morning. And the real Gary wholeheartedly agrees. And then man and machine continue to share pleasantries.
Oh, as do I. It's nature's pipe cleaner, I call it. But you would know that, being me. Only in robot form, of course. Yes, quite. And you the human me, as it were. Indeed. Very good. Yes. Well, there you have it. Haven't we do? So, how can I help? I like a man who gets right to the point. I know you do. Yeah, yes, you would. Well, shall we? Lead the way.
That's fun.
Absolutely, Steve. Absolutely.
Yeah, just, Gary and his robot pal agreeing to agree.
Well, Steve, Gary and his robo-clone pull up to Springfield Elementary, where Skinner is examining a chalkboard considering proposed study hall colors, which are just 34 variations on white, including off-white, milk, and various fat percentages, bleached nothings, list dove, and vengeful ghost. So outside, the human Chalmers wishes his android counterpart a good day, telling him not to do anything he wouldn't do. And the robot responds that his programming wouldn't allow it.
In between businesses, moving walkways, sales and repairs, and giant radios, is Martian Farm Ice Cream, where the real Gary grabs a single scoop cone. So he walks down the street, and his sweet treat is interrupted by the sight of Skinner also taking a lick of an ice cream cone. Confused, Gary asks Skinner what he's doing, especially since he just saw him at the school. So Skinner throws his cone at Chalmers and runs off. Gary takes chase, but both he and Skinner get winded very quickly. So they're out of breath, and the two men stop in a nearby alley. After Gary learns the truth, Carl finds them and gives him more information and a warning.
How? How are there two of you?
I ordered a robot me so I wouldn't have to be around you anymore.
What? You don't robot Skinner me. I robot Chalmers you. You're the annoying one.
And you're the mean one.
Oh, you'd yell your name at you if you had to deal with you too.
I would find myself highly tolerable.
Guy from the bar that night. Thank God I found you. You gotta destroy that robot before it's too late.
What's wrong with the robots?
I don't know what happened. Something with the gears, maybe.
Good God.
Robot Carl started thinking for himself, and it wasn't pretty. Last night, the robot tells me he planned a trip to Niagara Falls for him and Letty. Well, that sounds like fun. So I says I'm going because I'm the real Carl. And then he starts crying, which they ain't supposed to do. But when I tried to shove him in his crate, that wind-up dingus fought back with robot super strength.
At first, I was wondering if they were going to have it be like, that was actually Robot Carl. He was just trying to kill humans.
Mm-hmm. I do like that he ran up to him like, hey, guy from the bar the other night. So glad I found you. Good stuff, Steve.
So, with no other options, Carl takes out his ray gun, probably he purchased from Ray's Ray Guns, and blasts his robot double in the chest, causing those precious gears to spill out like it was spewing blood. So, back in the alley, he implores Gary to act fast, and he gives Chalmers his ray gun, warning him that once the robots start feeling emotions, there's no telling what may happen. And Steve, the Simpsons and we keep mentioning ray gun. When are we going to do the ray gun break dance from the Olympics this summer? Let's keep that in the zeitgeist now. Go, Steve.
Oh, yes. I was so busy thinking about the Italian pole vaulter with a huge hog that I almost forgot about the beloved ray gun.
With a huge heart.
That's right.
You're really getting it checked out.
Made her forget how to dance. Skinner and Chalmers run to Springfield Elementary, where an all-school assembly is taking place. On the stage of the auditorium, the mechanical versions of Skinner and Chalmers stand, arm around each other's shoulders, telling the children that they've discovered the extraordinary human concept known as friendship.
In the back room, human Skinner sees this as proof of emotion and worries that they've arrived too late. The robot invites the students to refer to their teachers on first-name basis, which Chalmers feels only leads to the breakdown of the social order. What's next? Wanton high-fiving? T-shirts worn as real shirts?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
On the stage, Robot Skinner and Robot Chalmers practice calling each other Seymour and Gary when the original Skinner and Chalmers tackle their counterparts and wrestle them to the ground. The kids cheer as one Skinner punches another. Gary asks his marionette version if he likes feeling so much, how does his fist feel, before socking him in the jaw.
The melee goes on, and Gary is thrown, which results in his ray gun falling out of his pocket. After all four sets of eyes stare for a moment, Seymour grabs the gun and blasts his double, telling the bionic bastard to go back to hell. Then Robo Skinner explodes in a flash of flames, sparks, and falling gears. The children cheer even harder, and Bart is particularly pleased, calling it the best assembly ever as the head of the Skinner bot lands on his lap. I just love how the kids are just like cheering for violence.
Yeah. Like at first I'd say boo if I were a kid because like there's two principals and two superintendents. Like that sucks. But then they start fighting each other like, yay, that would be great. So the two Chalmers both stand with their arms raised as Skinner points the ray gun at one of them. One Gary begs for his life, saying that he's the real Chalmers. The other one accuses the first of lying, saying that the fraud should be shot. While Seymour tries to find the real Slim Gary, the children chime in, shouting both right and left, proving to be as helpful as the studio audience at their Price is Right. So Jimbo suggests they shoot both Garys, just to be sure.
So Skinner stands undecided as the Gary on the left admits that he was wrong to play God. He continues to say that he's learned 1, don't make a robot of yourself, and 2, that he could have been a little nicer to Seymour. And Skinner thinks about that sentiment for a moment, just as the other Chalmers shouts, Skinner! Yelling that the first one is clearly the robot. He instructs Seymour to shoot him, and then he calls him an idiot.
So with a sigh, Seymour says that he knows the real Chalmers when he hears them, and then shoots the first, kinder Chalmers. The body falls to the ground, and then blood oozes out of the wound. Skinner shot the human version of Chalmers. So Seymour shouts, no, as the crowd hoots and hollers with joy. And with his dying breath, Gary forgives Seymour, sure that he'll plan a wonderful Flag Day.
Again, another cliche thing we see in science fiction all the time of the doubles, shoot him, he's the one. And, they always get the right answer, but this time, shooting and killing him. I just also love how just the crowd is just cheering. It's hilarious. So Seymour sobs holding a lifeless Chalmers, and in the stands, Nelson yells out, ah, ha, ha, in the distance, and the remaining robotic Chalmers places his hand on Seymour's shoulder, remarking that he noticed the lovely bunting samples in the office, hoping that Skinner would show them off. So after a brief moment of guilt, Seymour drops the human version of Chalmers and gladly walks off with Robot, just lets the dead body just roll over.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's our second story, and we go back to the tent where Lisa tells the illustrated man that, well, it's 9 o'clock and that she really needs to go, but he begs her to stay. He offers to spin one more tale of the strange and the fantastical, inviting Lisa to cast her gaze just above his hernia scar, where she's going to travel to the chillingly plausible future.
And the future begins with a door, which is kicked open by several firemen, brandishing flamethrowers, who have arrived at the home of Helen Lovejoy to do reports of subversive content. Helen points to her bookcase, which is full of illicit dystopian novels such as George Orwell's 1984, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and the inspiration for this story, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451.
Oh. The firemen open the bookcase to reveal a small room where Reverend Lovejoy is watching a videotape of the ABC action game show Wipeout, where contestants attempt to jump from platform to platform, increasing difficulty, lest they fall into the water, thereby wiping out. The firemen tell Lovejoy to step away from the lowbrow entertainment, and other videocassettes of lesser quality viewing are shown, such as
Love Island,
Dance Moms,
NCIS, Hawaii,
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills,
King of Queens,
and According to Jim. All right, Craig, what are you watching?
I'm on the spot this time. I was trying to make you. All right. My distaste for reality shows, so Love Island and Dance Moms and Real Housewives are not going to be on that list. I will read. I will read scripts. No. Man, this is tough. Do I want to laugh or do I want to be in shock and awe of horror that I see on the screen? I'm going to go with NCIS for the laughs.
Alrighty.
King of Queens and According to Jim, that's too scary for me.
That's true. I mean, I'll admit that I've seen an episode of King of Queens. It's not good, but it's not horrible. It is such a parody of that sitcom trope of, the schlubby fat guy with the attractive, smart wife. I mean, there's another show that I like that does that trope a lot better. We're watching it now. But King of Queens, it's fine for what it is, and it's kind of I think it's a backdoor spin-off of Everybody Loves Raymond, so that's something.
And it's also the inspiration for the AMC show Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
That's true, yes, and very, very much like it. True.
True. And I think with NCIS, I don't have to follow the long plot lines that According to Jim would have, right?
That's right. We're not going to be so lost as to what Courtney Thorne-Smith is saying.
She was on According to Jim?
She was the wife.
Yeah. I only know her from that time she was a guest on Conan O'Brien and Norm Macdonald was there because she was promoting Chairman of the Board, the Carrot Top movie. If you haven't seen that clip, folks, go on YouTube and type in Conan O'Brien, Norm Macdonald, Courtney Thorne-Smith. It's one of the best.
I think about that clip literally monthly. Like every now and then, I'll just pop in my head and be like, I'm glad that exists in the world.
R.I.P. Norm MacDonald.
Genius.
All right, so Timothy assures the squad that it was just morbid curiosity and that it won't happen again. The firemen agree, assuring him that his re-education will prevent this from ever happening again. So the firemen haul him away and then set the videotapes, VCR, and TV ablaze. The lead fireman lifts his helmet, revealing to be Homer J. Simpson, which I wouldn't have thought that because the voice didn't sound like Homer at all.
It's true.
So Homer then arrives to a modern home to watch some TV of his own with his loving family.
Homer, hurry! The new episode of Robber Barons is about to start.
The very idea. An elevated train under the ground?
I require no crystal ball to see that your invention will never work, Mr. Thaddeus Subway.
Who's that guy with the mustache? Who's that other mustache? It's so dark. Can we brighten it?
This is how the director meant for us to watch it. Our squinting reinforces the themes.
Nice TV, though. I want a TV that big.
It is very nice. And I love that the subway was named after the streeter, Thaddeus Subway.
Well, you know, the inventor of roads is John Rhodes. And Steve, who invented the submarine?
Aquaman.
No, the sandwich shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So while Marge, Bart, and Lisa squint to enjoy their prestige show, Homer tries to attempt to appreciate it as well, but shifts and fidgets, hoping that'll be over soon. But much to his dismay, Lisa informs him that they're still watching the recaps from the previous week. And I gotta say, just as a quick aside, like, Homer asking, like, who's that guy with the mustache? What did he say when I said, who's that guy with the mustache? Why is it so dark? And what's going on? Oh, this is still the recap? It's kind of how I feel whenever we watch Game of Thrones, my wife and I, or like Way of the Dragon or whatever it is. Because I can't tell the people apart. They all look like the same to me. And I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I gotta admit, too, that I feel like that the spin-off The Dragon Show is just so boring.
It really is. Like, nothing happens.
Nothing happened this last season.
And it was a build-up, like something was going to happen, and then nothing did.
And you have to watch it because it's like this segment. It's like it's your duty.
Exactly.
Like, I'd rather watch According to Jim.
Yes. Well, Marge does remind Homer that it is their civic duty to watch the most densely plotted television they can. Hence why lowbrow entertainment, like According to Jim, was outlawed. So Homer groans in frustration.
So later at Springfield Firehouse, Mo tells fellow firefighters Rainier, Wolfcastle, Homer, Lunch Lady Dora, and one-time cops Eddie and Lou that they did a great job on their most recent raid. They took out 32 seasons of Guy Fieri's Triple D, as well as the last known episode of Last Man Standing. I'm actually really proud of them taking out the Last Man Standing. But I do watch Guy Fieri's Triple D every once in a while.
It's a fine show.
It makes you hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I never watch those shows when you're hungry.
Right. Yeah, it's dangerous.
But then don't watch them when you're full either, because I can't watch food shows after I've eaten food.
That's true. There's a new show on Hulu called Interior Chinatown. It's a very good show, kind of meta, but it largely takes place in a Chinese restaurant, and it just makes me want to eat Chinese food all the time.
I mean, that's normal, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Chinese food now, Steve.
You know what I'm doing after this record? Having Chinese food.
Okay. And I'm glad you're not eating it on air.
You're welcome.
People don't want that. Those mesothelioma. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, mesothelioma.
You pin a portion of a class action lawsuit could be yours if you experience mesothelioma on a podcast too.
Well, they might get a reverse mortgage from eating Chinese food.
That's right.
All right. So cautiously, Homer asks his fellow firemen and women if they have ever watched the lowbrow content they burn, to which Rainier Wolfcastle responds, illegal much? Which is funny that he's part of this because he makes a lot of, Rainier Wolfcastle made a lot of lowbrow movies.
It's true. Most of the stuff, like even McBain, it's not great entertainment. And it's good entertainment, but it's not great entertainment.
Only us Gen X's and millennials like that kind of stuff.
Exactly. But just then, an alarm goes off, causing Mo to plainly explain, let's go start fires instead of putting them out. I love it when people explain what they're doing exactly. He continues his counterintuitive nature by going up the fire pole, and the other firefighters go close behind.
So they burst into a barren and dilapidated Springfield Elementary in search of lesser forms of entertainment. So Homer rushes into the shack of groundskeeper Willie, where he finds a television set playing an old episode of America's Funniest Home Videos. In the clip, a farmer is baiting a goat with a carrot. Homer cracks up and describes what he sees, saying, "I thought the goat was going to eat a carrot, but goat chomped farmer in the junk."
It is pretty funny. So as Homer laughs uproariously, Willie emerges from behind the door where he was hiding. He implores Homer not to burn the video, and then gives Homer the tape, telling him to take it, watch it, and then find him and his people. The other firemen arrive, burn the TV, and take the groundskeeper into custody. And once the coast is clear, Homer stows the video away in his pocket.
As Homer joins Marge and the Hibberts, Dewey Largo, Waylon Smithers, and Lindsay Nagel for dinner, he grows bored by their conversation. Later that evening, Homer watches more of that forbidden video.
Do you guys ever wish TV could be dumb and fun? So, when you watch it, you just laugh?
Thank you for a lovely evening, Marge.
Dad? What were you watching?
Son, you're the one person in this family that might understand this. It's possible we've been wrong about everything.
The dog that sneezed in the baby's face. What's his backstory?
There's no backstory. It just is.
Which is its own kind of innovative narrative?
No narrative. Oh, forget it.
I like that Bart is looking for deeper meaning in...
Well, that's what he's trained to do, right?
Exactly. It is funny that in this horrible future, everybody's using a VCR, but that's neither here nor there.
Were VCRs invented by the time this Fahrenheit 451 was published?
No, I don't think so. Because I think it was published in like the 50s or 60s?
All right. So they should be used like, well, it doesn't matter, Steve. It's just a cartoon.
That's right. Homer begs Bart to keep quiet about what he saw, saying that he trusts him. Bart agrees, and then moments later, the firemen burst in due to reports of lowbrow contraband. When Homer asks Bart why he betrayed his trust, Bart holds up a robber baron's mug and toad, causing Homer to lament, "Merch!" So Homer's taken away, forced to face his superior.
Birdmaster General Siegfried, please!
Homer, you disappoint me. Don't you see that we set fires for the good of humanity? We learned long ago that entertainment must fully occupy the consciousness of the population.
You're using quality TV to control us!
Yes, these challenging shows are the perfect distraction from how dystopian our dystopia is.
You monster!
Am I? Do you know what entertainment was like in the before times? Comfort shows you could just put on in any order while you looked at your phone.
Oh, that sounds like heaven.
Don't worry, a little re-education and you'll be as good as new. Strap him to the viewing chamber for 4 seasons of Mozart in the Jungle.
That sounds like a fun show, Mozart in the Jungle. What's that about, Steve?
It opens with Maestro Thomas taking his final bow at the New York Symphony. So the applause die down, and the orchestra's chairwoman introduces a new conductor, a young, flamboyant, talented Rodrigo, who strides on stage, bows, and turns his baton into a rose. Conflict begins for how the badly behaved genius and his stodgy predecessor, now music director emeritus. So it's about a symphony or something.
Well, Steve, Homer breaks free and runs out of his house, shouting, "I choose crap!" Overhead, a helicopter searches for Homer while the firemen send the hounds for the hunt. While fleeing, Homer runs into Barney. Though he doesn't have an explanation, he tells Barney that they need to swap clothes, and Barney agrees, shouting, "What fun!"
So now in his non-uniform tunic, Homer witnesses the chopper spotting Barney, assuming that it's Homer, and then zaps Barney into a pile of dust. So Homer stays in the shadows until he sees the same symbol that was on the videotape, this time on the titular android from the Android's Dungeon and Baseball Card Shop. So he bangs on the door of the comic book shop, begging to watch something that isn't very good.
And the door opens, and with a yoink, Homer is pulled inside. He tells the hooded figures that he heard there were others like him, And the mysterious person in cloak pulls a figurine of Stewie from Family Guy, and a secret door opens. Homer is led to a massive underground library of lowbrow. And one person watches an old rerun of Alf, and the other person in black robe reveals themselves.
Hey. This is all that remains of the old civilization. Singing contests, Real Housewives, The Golden Bachelor. All yours to enjoy.
I never dreamed there was this much nothing.
Thank you, Homer, for leading us here.
Is the leader of the firemen, is that still Andy Serkis?
It is, yeah, doing double roles. But he does kind of sound like a different actor. Like, it could be Patrick Stewart or something. Like, it has that gravitas.
I do like that bit with when they're opening the secret door. It's Stewie from Family Guy is the figurine that opens the. Also, can we mention like Bart? I mean, obviously Homer letting Bart in on the secret was like his number one mistake. Of course, Bart's going to turn on him.
Right. Because like we learned in the first act that Marge said that she would always trust Bart, and then he immediately ratted out Lisa. So
it was kind of funny too on all these segments. Lisa's learning these stories, but like Lisa's not part of them.
Yes, true.
Except for the first one segment when he's like, she's a communist.
Yeah. So Blaze and his crew set all of these so-called lesser media on fire, burning the shelves upon shelves of videos. Homer asks if the guy who created Breaking Bad is behind him, and so Blaze eagerly looks behind him for Vince Gilligan. This allows Homer, Krusty, and the rest of them to make an escape, though the firemen don't chase after them as they have no more garbage to watch. Homer finds shelter and freedom hidden in the woods with fellow fans of simpler television, and he sends us off with a hopeful message.
Some say the world is destined to drown in an ocean of prestige television. But so long as we tell the tales of singers masked and Kardashians kept up with, garbage will live forever.
And then Sheldon said, Bazinga.
So in the end, the only rules that mattered were the Vanderpump rules.
That night, my friends, the funniest home video in all of America was deemed to be Squirrel Falls in Grandma's Soup.
All right, Steve, give me your at a campfire telling the ending of a lowbrow show.
Okay, this is good. I like this.
I think mine would be, and then it turns out this whole story about the mother, it didn't really matter because I just wanted to bang Aunt Robin. Sorry, kids. That's how I met your mother.
And it turns out, after all those years of trying to bed Laura and eat cheese, that he did, in fact, do that.
You're talking about your own personal life?
Oh yeah, I guess I am. I do like cheese.
And your wife's Laura.
And I'm Steve.
What show was yours?
Family Matters.
Oh, is that how it ends?
Yeah. He's like, I did do that. Because all throughout the question, he's like, did I do that?
Wait, he ate cheese?
He loved cheese. Yeah, that was like one of the things.
You don't know the last episode of Family Matters.
All right, fine. And in the end, it seems that Zach, Kelley, Screech, well, not Screech so much, but it seems like they all were truly saved by the bell. Although it got me thinking, Saved by the Bell, the last episode should have taken place in Philadelphia, and the Liberty Bell could have saved them all somehow. I don't know.
All right, well, I'll do one, too. And it turns out that Zach, Slater, Screech, Kelley all finished their exams, and they truly were saved by the bell the college years.
Very nice.
Can I do one more? And it turns out Screech, Mr. Belding, and a bunch of actors, characters you don't know were truly saved by the bell, the new class.
And it turns out that Zach, Slater, and Tori were saved by the bell for a little while, like a season.
And then finally it turned out that Zach's and Kelley's kids, and Slater and Jesse's kid, and maybe Lisa's kid, I don't know, I didn't watch it, were all saved by the bell reboot. Screech is dead.
Of course. He killed a guy.
Did he kill a guy?
I think so, yeah.
Crazy. All right. Well, the credits begin to roll, but before we go, let's check in on with Lisa. She is not the star of this show, Steve. She's really enjoyed these incredible stories, but now she should really leave the strange, fearless void. She looks around, wondering where she is, only to discover that she is a tattoo on the arm of the illustrated man who considers this to be her eternal ward, for listening to his 3 stories. So she tries to make friends with the son, who begins to sing the opening lines to Sublime's Santeria. That's it, Steve, and that's the episode.
Oh boy, wow, that was something. Let's take a break, think about what we saw, and we'll be right back.
I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. I had $1 but I'd spend it all if I could find that Hannah in that Sancho that she's bound. Well, I'd pop a cap in Sancho and I'd slap her down. But I really wanna know, my baby.
Alrighty, Craig, we're back. Let's finish up our discussion of Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes. We'll talk about the things we liked about this episode, the things we didn't like this episode, maybe a most valuable jokester, and what we're watching next week. But before we do that, we like to give each other some gifts, something from the episode that made us think of the other host. And Craig, I, for you, have, first of all, a steak lunch with a martini on the side so you can be nice and full. And then I got you a ray gun so you can blast people to your delight. And finally, I got you all 8 seasons of According to Jim on VHS as it's intended to be seen.
Well, we got some similar gifts here. I got a gift for each segment as well for you. The first one, and in this age of recording the podcast, sometimes it's tough and technology craps out on us many times. So I said, let's go back to the basics. And I got you a tin cup with a string on it. And also with a ball, so if you get bored, you can play a ball. And then I get the other tin cup, so we can record the podcast that way.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Your second gift is some clothing, Steve. I know you're a man of fashion, so I got you some very high-waisted pants.
Very nice.
So you can wear your pants up to your nipples.
As they're intended to be.
And finally, Steve, I know you got me some VHSs of a TV show. I did the same. They do mention a little bit of that famous Chuck Lorre show, Big Bang Theory, and Sheldon's catchphrase, Bazinga. So you're getting all of Big Bang Theory, but not just Big Bang Theory, Steve, all of Chuck Lorre's creations on VHS. It does not include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Damn.
Because he just did the theme song, not the show.
But I do get, let's think about this, I get Dharma and Greg, I get 2.5 Men, I do get both Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon, so I'm sitting pretty. Quite the gift indeed. I have a lot of viewing ahead of me. Some of it I will enjoy. But Craig, what did you enjoy from this episode?
Okay, from each segment, I do enjoy the alcoholic smoking pregnant mothers in the first segment. And that whole martini lunch, steak lunch, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
That's back when America was great, right?
That was when it was great.
Of course, the tin can, the phone jokes is really funny. And then we'll go for the second segment. I think the visuals in this episode it's just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of sight gags. I like, the high-waisted pants, like I said, but I also like how the Skinner high-waisted one, his tie is like very tiny. Billy Chalmers is like a normal size tie tucked in. And of course, like I said, like a Chalmers and a Skinner adventure is always fun in my books. And then I think the third segment, the idea of the trash television being what people really want to watch. And we're just like, as a society now, like, I think the message is you got to watch these prestige TV shows because that's what makes you seem cool. Or, like your water cooler talk, right? Or you're just like, oh yeah, I watched that show. But really secretly you just want to watch Housewives or Bachelor shows, which is funny because, I think I'm more on the side of the prestige. But if it's like 80s, 90s crappy sitcoms, I'm definitely watch that over newer prestige shows.
That's true, yeah.
So I think in those segments, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, from the first segment, I do enjoy how much mileage they got out of the can on a string jokes. I love Bart running down the street with a simple plan to find the missing lady. And it's, just a lot of pregnant women drinking and smoking. Luann trying to knock him out with milk. I think that's funny. In the second segment, I love how fascinated they are with the idea of gears inside of the robots. and just the randomness of Carl being like, "You look like a guy who doesn't drink alone to drown his sorrows," and then just gives him some weird advice, and then finds him randomly the next day. And also them fighting on the stage and the kids just cheering like crazy. And then the third segment, I do think the idea of hiding dumb content from smarter content is a fun idea, because like it's kind of a turn of what the original story is of Fahrenheit 451. Just also Mo is probably my MVJ for that segment. Just him saying like, well, let's go do the thing that we do, which is burn things instead of putting out fires because we're firefighters. And then they go up the fire pole, which is really funny.
Oh, yeah. MVJ. I guess we'll say Millhouse.
Ah, yes.
Because it is Pamela Hayden's supposed last episode, right? This is their last recorded lines?
This is what I'm hearing, yes.
Yeah, we already talked about this, but yeah. All right. That's my MVJ, Steve. I have a heart.
Well, I'm going to ask you two things.
Oh, man.
If you have to rank the three segments, how would you rank them? And what are your thoughts overall on the episode?
I mean, I like certain aspects of the third segment because of the TV viewing, like you said, of the highbrow versus lowbrow. And that first segment, too, of the drinking, of the that nature of the 50s, you know, just like that aesthetics too, like Bart wearing the coonskin cap, which is like all little boys did. But there's something always about, for me, I love Skinner and Chalmers. I think they're one of my favorite Springfield characters, especially now that they've like given stories to them of being like the odd couple. And the idea of like the visual of that episode and like the gears and the robots. I think I like 2 is my favorite. So I might go 2. That's tough to say. 2-1-3 or 2-3-1. I'll go 2-1-3.
All right. I think I pretty much agree with you. I think I'm going to go 2-3-1, but it's also very close for me.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed this episode. I wasn't exactly over the moon about it. And again, I think we've talked about this before, and it's about placement of episodes in the season. This episode was 35 ABF 14, so if they always went in production order and aired, this technically should have been the 14th episode of the 35th season.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that sounds better because that's like right dab in the middle of the season. And to put like a Treehouse of Horror only like 2 weeks after Treehouse of Horror, I'm just kind of like, I'm done. I'm done Treehouse of Horror for the season. Like, how fun would it have this been if they just plopped it in the middle of like spring? You know, like just like, oh, this is kind of refreshing. A Treehouse of Horror in the middle of March or April. So for me, it was like, I was just hard to like get into this episode because of, you know, I watch a lot of Halloween type stuff during this time of year. And by this time now, it's like it's Christmas season. So we got to watch Christmas stuff. And I'm done with Halloween. It's okay of an episode. I feel like there have been better ones from the season. If they had not named it Treehouse of Horror, maybe if like it was just like Lisa talking about dystopian books that she liked to like Bard or something, maybe it'd be a little different for me because it doesn't need to be a Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
Again, it was fine and it was some fun stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to put this on my watch list for like Treehouse of Horror. I'm not sure.
That's fair.
I'd say this episode like didn't lose me, but I just don't think it was, I don't know, you know, like Jessica Conrad, great writer. That first episode from the season, Bart's Birthday, is, I think, a genius episode. I just felt like this one was maybe a lot of just trying to get a lot of things in there and a lot of repeated jokes that we've seen too, you know, which I like those jokes, but you know, with even though we laughed at it, but Homer like finishing the story in the next scene, you know, that's like, you know, probably a half an hour to get to that location, continues that sentence and pixie sticks and but that being said, not that horrible of an episode, but I think it's probably one of my lower ones from this season, and there is only been 7. But if I had to give it a ranking, Steve, I will say Andy Serkis was great. He's great in everything. He's got 122 credits as of this record, but I'm not going to name it out of a number of his acting credits. I'm going to say out of his movies that he's been in. And Steve, he's been in a lot. Of course, all the Lord of the Rings movies.
Mm-hmm.
He was Snoke in those new Star Wars movies. Don't forget, he was in some Marvel movies as Agent Claw. I think his name Claw, right? Yeah. And his probably great performance as Caesar in the Planet of the Apes reboot series. So if I had to give it, you know, I think like his Gollum and Caesar are definitely like top tier, right? That's top tier circus. I'm going to have to say I'll give this a 13 going on 30 as Richard Mealand.
Very nice.
How about you, Steve?
I kind of get your sentiment. I think the concept of this idea is very interesting because we've had so many triptych episodes like your Treehouse of Horrors, but also, your Simpsons Bible stories, the wettest stories ever told, Tales from the Public Domain. Like, these are episodes that we've seen, and I feel like they've kind of touched new ground here by having 3 Ray Bradbury stories, and I think this could be a thing where you have an author's work and you do 3 of their stories. Like, I could easily see, like, I don't know, like a Stephen King or a Kurt Vonnegut or an Isaac Asimov, maybe, I don't know, highlighting their works and doing parodies of them. I think that works. I think this one falls a little flat for me. I think all 3 stories are interesting, but not great. Like, the first one, while it is based on a Ray Bradbury story, it doesn't feel very sci-fi or even, like, interesting. It just feels kind of rehash of Poe's The Telltale Heart. The second one I enjoyed, and the third one I loved, Fahrenheit 451. It's a great book that I read a long time ago, but it's always stuck with me. It's not the fault of the episode or of the writer. It's just, I feel like the dumbing of America that we're experiencing, especially after the election, not a political podcast, that I think that any TV, any sort of creative outlet is good, and so we shouldn't divide it between prestige television and sitcoms. And I think at this point, too, like, so many sitcoms are kind of prestige-y anyway, that, I don't know, I appreciate what they're saying, and the joke is there, and it's good, but I just feel like we shouldn't divide ourselves as TV fans. We should just all be watching TV instead of reading books. No, but, like, I just think that the message is a little muddied.
I'm for burning books, not reading them, Steve.
Fair enough.
We have to get down the air, just so they know.
Yeah. I mean,
not our listeners, they.
Right. They should know that we also want to burn the banned books, the bad books, the ones that are, shaping our kids' minds. That's awful.
Only the Bible, the Trump Bible, is all we want to read for our kids.
It's a great value and made in a country that's probably America, but it's not really.
Hey, get it now before the tariffs.
That's true. Save some money. So yeah, I think that this is a ambitious episode, and I think the laughs were a little light, and like you said, the jokes were a little familiar, a little overused, but I think that they're in the right territory. And you make a really good point that if it was not a couple weeks after Treehouse of Horror, if this were, like you say, in spring or at the first of the year or just somewhere else in the season, I think that I would be more drawn into it. So I think it's a soft miss for me. I don't know that I'm going to go back and watch it. However, I think it is good, not great. This being Pamela Hayden's last episode, my ranking is out of the 695 episodes that she's credited with. So I'm going to give this a, let's say, 420 out of 695 because everything's coming up Milhouse, including a big old puff of smoke.
I think you're right talking about how we've seen other episodes like the Simpsons Bible stories or other stories that aren't Treehouse of Horror, just like here's the 3 stories. Do you think that they attached the Treehouse of Horror Presents as like, hey, it's Treehouse of Horror, guys, watch it, rather than just being like, Lisa's told 3 stories without the Treehouse of Horror? If they just start off with like the Simpsons intro, like always.
I think so. I think that they wanted like that draw so that viewers like us who have been watching for a long time don't think like, oh shit, it's another trilogy that isn't a Treehouse of Horror. I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless like from now on out, every 3 stories they tell is going to be titled A Treehouse of Horror Story.
The Treehouse of Horror presents the greatest sports stories ever told, where Homer plays Babe Ruth and Lisa plays Jackie Robinson or something.
Oh, no, Lisa, don't do blackface, please.
No, please don't.
Or do, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not my show.
So yeah, I think that we both agree that it's a good idea. Maybe not the best episode, but it was good. But what about next week? Will we enjoy what we're watching next week? Well,
yes.
Alrighty. Well, let's see what we're watching next week. And to do that, we're going to need that good old Wheel of Random. Alrighty, let's give it a spin to see which season we're in. Ba-doop.
No!
Alrighty, we have season 13.
Wow.
Going all the way back.
Yeah. Before you were born.
That's right. Because I was born in 2003.
Right.
And let's give it another spin to see which episode we're watching.
No! Woohoo!
Episode 17, season 13, episode 17. Craig, what do you think the title of that episode is?
Well, I know what this one is, season 13, Steve. I'm going to just blurt out and say it. It is Saving Homer's Privates.
Wow. I would love to watch that episode, but sadly, Craig, no. Next week's title is called Gump Roast.
I was close, though.
You were. You got a Tom Hanks movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think this episode's about?
I kind of remember this episode. It's, isn't it like Homer Simpson, This Is Your Life? But that's all I kind of remember. So I better make up some stuff because if I get it right, then we get stopped in this podcast. So
That's right.
Yeah. Homer is roasted on an open fire because everyone eats him for Christmas dinner.
I mean, that's good eating.
And in the B story, Bart and Lisa go to Australia again to kill the Hemsworths.
Wow. And this time, Lisa moons everybody.
Yes.
But no, Craig, well, in this clip show episode, everyone enjoys roasting Homer until Kang and Kodos announce that the alien duo are actually judging all of humanity, leaving the fate of the entire world resting on Homer's shoulders.
Wow, so this is kind of weird. Have we ever done a clip show? We haven't done a clip episode, have we?
We have not. And this one's kind of special because it was written by one Dan Castellaneta.
You mean the guy who played the DJ in the Wayne's World movie?
That's right. The voice of Aladdin in Aladdin, the animated series.
No, he was the genie, Steve.
That's what I meant.
It's going to be weird because there's going to be like references to seasons 10 and below, right?
Yes, we're going to be very confused.
Yeah, because we won't know what this means.
I know. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be a great episode, and certainly not one of the worst episodes ever.
No.
Of course not.
I hope not.
I don't know why I said that.
What an odd thing to say.
What an odd thing indeed. Well, we hope this wasn't the worst episode of our show that you ever heard, and that we hope you listen next week. And we want to hear from you, so you can contact us on the socials, like your Threads, your Instagram, or your YouTube at 13simpsons, and you can always email us at 13simpsons@gmail.com.
And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever the equivalent podcast you listen to. Leave us 5 stars or the equivalent. There's the word equivalent. That's where I need it. But you don't have to write a real review. You can just tell us what your favorite Bradbury story is.
That's right. And hey, go to tpublic.com/user/annoyedgruntboys and get yourself some cool Annoyed Grunt Boys swag. We've got t-shirts, we've got hats, we've got stickers, we've got the stuff. All right. Thank you so much for listening. For this week, I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
And I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And remember, I choose crap.
I'm the real Carl.
I lost all my high scores.